Hello friends, followers and channel members, welcome to another video here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Now a few days ago I posted a video which were my personal top 10 Payware sceneries in Europe, all based on different factors, rated from 10 down to 1. And one of the things people came and mentioned in the comments was, wouldn't it be great to do a similar video but just looking at freeware airports? Now, of course, there are some amazing freeware airport sceneries available which are quite up to the level of commercial and payware. London Gatwick and Oslo, to name a couple. But both of those airports are very, very well known, and I think everyone is familiar with those particular freeware airports that you can download for Microsoft Flight Simulator. So in this video, I'm going to look at my top 10 freeware airports, again, here in Europe, but they're ones that you may not be quite so familiar with. So hopefully this video will give you some great freeware airports to download and fly to places that you may not have thought of flying to before. Now obviously this is all subjective, and this is just my personal top 10 freeware airports that you can download, places that you may not have already thought of flying to and are not some of the bigger, more popular airports. But of course, as always, I would love to hear down in the comments below what your favourite freeware airports are to fly to, whether they are popular or perhaps lesser known ones as showcased in this video. Please do leave a comment down below and let me know your top freeware airports for Microsoft Flight Simulator here in Europe. So let's get started. 10 ranked up to 1. Up first then at number 10 is Samos Airport, one of the Greek islands. Now of course there are literally dozens of Greek airports that you can fly in and out of, many of them also with lots of great freeware scenery. What I really like about this airport in particular is the approach. So the approach for this, because of the way that the island is laid out and the terrain, means that it is a purely visual approach. You approach the airport island from the south, and then depending on which runway you're landing on, you bank out to the left or the right and have to make a great turn to final. It is a completely visual approach, so obviously the minimums are quite high, and if you approach onto runway 09, then you're looking for a white glass house that you have to fly over, which aligns you with the runway track. A great different approach and a nice little airport to fly into. Next in at number 9 is Pula Airport in Croatia. Now this airport has got quite a bit of terrain if you're approaching from the east. It's also just had a recent world update in this part of the world, of course, Croatia. So nice to see that this area of Microsoft Flight Simulator is getting a bit of love. And of course, when we've got freeware scenery like this to fly into, why wouldn't you want to head here? It's an airport that perhaps doesn't get lots of attention in the flight simulator world, but this scenery looks really good, and what I particularly like about this one is the developers' attention to detail with the taxiways. We've all been on VATSIM before and we've had a taxiway gate given to us and not really been able to see or know where it is we're meant to be going because the scenery might not reflect that quite so well. No danger with this one though. This looks fantastic, highly recommended. Next in at number 8 is Skopje, which is in Macedonia. Now this airport from this view looks nice and flat, which indeed it is. However, to the west of the airport, the northwest and even the southwest, there are lots of hills and terrain, which if you are approaching from Western Europe, then you are obviously going to have to avoid. And it means that you're going to have to think about the energy management as you get down, meaning that this airport is not quite as straightforward as it first appears. It's a great little airport, and what I really love about this freeware scenery is the attention to detail with not just the passenger side of the airport concentrated on, but also the military aspect as well. Lots of good lighting too, which means that if you're approaching here in the night, you're not going to be losing your way in the dark trying to find the taxiway. This is a highly detailed airport, and if you've not yet checked this one out, I highly recommend it. Sticking with Eastern Europe again then for my next pick, and this is Ljubljana. Now of course another part of the world that has just been given an update in Microsoft Flight Simulator with the recent world update. This scenery again is excellent for freeware, and not only does it look good from the outside, it also looks good from the inside if that's your thing. Like many airports in Eastern Europe, again terrain is a factor, meaning that depending on conditions you could have quite a challenging landing here, so another one to add to the collection. Next up at number 6 then, for me it's Belfast. Now, this is not Belfast Aldergrove, as you may be familiar with. Great Payware scenery there from Pyrrhus, but no, this is Belfast, now also the George Best Airport, located much closer to the city of Belfast and previously known as the City of Belfast Airport. This airport gives you great views whether you're approaching from the north or the south. From the south, you come in over the Docklands, which looks fantastic and has also been modelled. There's nothing really too challenging with regards to the approach on this airport, but the views do look rather spectacular whichever way you come in, and it's a nice alternative of course to the usual Belfast airport that we fly into. A great piece of freeware scenery, and again, highly recommended. Halfway point now at number 5, and this is Sunborough in the Shetland Islands. Not the kind of airport where you're going to bring an A320 in, but if you're a fan of flying smaller aircraft or even the ATR 72 of course, then this is a perfect airport to approach. In real life, of course, it's full of helicopter traffic because of the oil rigs in the North Sea. This too has also been modelled in this scenery with lots of helicopter traffic on the ground. The changing weather this far north of the UK as well also means that approaches could potentially be a little bit bumpy. They don't always get the best weather in the Shetland Isles, but it's a great challenge to anyone who fancies flying somewhere perhaps a little bit different. Fourth place then takes us to Italy and Milan, and this is Linate Airport. Now, of course, there are 3 airports in Milan. We have Malpensa and also Bergamo, but this airport is the middle of the 3. It still has lots of traffic and is neatly bedded with the Alps just to the north of it, meaning once again that you're going to have to think about the approach in terms of getting down in good time and not being too fast. Now, I unfortunately have never been to this airport in real life, so perhaps you guys that have can tell me, is it really this green? That perhaps is the only thing that puts me off this scenery just a little bit. It looks like luminous paint was not in short supply when this was designed, but other than that, it's a great airport to fly into with lots of clear markings as well on the taxiways and runways. Time now then to enter the top 3, and in third place for me it is of course Alicante. Now, this is an airport which I'm sure everybody is familiar with, but this is such a great piece of freeware scenery it would be very difficult to omit it from this list. It's a great airport to fly into, and depending on which runway is in use, again requires a little bit of thought because of the terrain surrounding the airport to the north. I think the scenery developer here has managed the perfect balance between how much to include both inside the terminal and outside the terminal without compromising on performance or frame rates. The big glass frontage of course means that when you're taxiing up to the gate, you want to be able to see inside the terminal and all of these little details that you can see here on the screen. I think the scenery is done incredibly well, and even AI traffic departs perfectly from this airport, meaning it definitely deserves a place as one of the top 3 freeware airports in my collection. Number 2 then is a bit of a sore point for me on this channel. Yes, it's Vega in the Faroe Islands. Now, this airport is the only airport I believe where we've attempted to land with a live stream and I actually crashed, and that was due to some very bad weather and maybe a bit of poor piloting thrown in at the same time. But yes, this scenery looks fantastic and it is highly worth a visit. They don't often get good weather, which means that chances are you are going to be arriving in some rather tough conditions. But once again, the detail both inside and out at this airport means for freeware it really is pretty close, if not good enough, to be Payware quality. Throw into that the fact that the approach either end of the runway looks superb, then the scenery around this airport, if the weather is good enough for you to actually see it, is also beautiful. You're not going to be able to bring big aircraft to this airport, but it is more than capable of taking A320s, as Scandinavian do fly here quite regularly. An amazing airport scenery for freeware, and I hope you have better landings here than I did. So finally then we get to airport number 1 on the list, and I'm pretty certain this may shock a few of you, but yes, this is Guernsey Airport. Now, Guernsey of course is an airport which really only takes things like ATR and smaller. We're not going to get an A320 here on live streams because it's simply not big enough, but the attention to detail at this airport is absolutely stunning. Now, the developer is well known for creating great freeware quality airports, and not only can you get Guernsey, but you get this airport when you download it from flightsim.to as part of the Channel Islands pack, which means that they've also done a very good Jersey airport, which you've seen me fly into on live streams many times before. So whilst I've not really flown into this airport very much on live streams, except when we have been in the ATR, why did I pick this one? Well, purely just because of the high quality nature of it, and because I thought it's perhaps somewhere that many of you may not have even thought of flying into. I promise you though, if you do, then you will not be disappointed. This is easily good enough to be Payware scenery, with loads of attention to detail thrown in, and of course the island views look fantastic. So like I said at the start of the video, this is my top 10 freeware airports that you can download, which are perhaps not the ones that are the most well known. The idea behind it is to try and give you guys somewhere different to fly, to places that you may not have even thought of or not even heard of before. I'm also sure that there are also plenty of other amazing freeware airports out there that I haven't included in this list, and that is where you guys come in. If you have a great piece of freeware scenery just sticking to Europe for the sake of this video, then please do leave a comment down below in the comment section so that myself and of course other people can read and use those suggestions. One of the great things about Flight Simulator is the vast amount of airports that are available and the community that has come together since its release to create these amazing freeware sceneries. There are that many though, it's difficult to keep track, and of course we're always looking for new places to fly into that we may not yet have experienced. So I look forward to reading those comments later on. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I do hope you found this video useful. If you have, then of course please do leave a like. You can also support the channel now via super thanks if you wish, and of course if you are new to the channel, then please don't forget to subscribe to it, and of course hit the notifications bell so you don't miss any future videos or of course our live streams. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Bye bye for now.